Glory to Jesus Christ. The calendar of the liturgical year invites us several times a year to celebrate great followers of Christ. The Church offers us the memory of these saints not only so we can honor them, but mainly so that they can become an encouragement, an inspiration, and perhaps even a guide on our way to holiness. Today we should be encouraged by the saints whom the Church addresses as follows: glorious, illustrious apostles and holy Peter and Paul. Perhaps at this moment we might be thinking in our heart, it is easy to glorify these two great apostles, but how can I dare to follow these men whom the Church addresses in such a noble titles? It's too high of a goal for me. However, let's try today to remove this barrier that prevents us from receiving this inspiration for the growth of spiritual life from the saints that we celebrate today. The wisdom can be hidden in this following story I heard. A tourist, a young man, he came to a small town and he met an old man in the city square by the well, and he asked him, "Old man, can you tell me if anyone famous was born in this town?" And the old man thought for a moment, and then he said, "As far as I remember, only children were born in our town." We know that the tourist meant differently, but we can't blame the old man either for giving perhaps a wrong answer. For sure, his answer gives us a new perspective in our thinking about following the saints. None of them were born saints. We can say that they all started from the same starting line as us. Maybe the only difference is that they tried to fulfill their yes to Christ in a radical way. This does not mean that we do not encounter faults, doubts, and struggles with our own weaknesses. After all, it is enough to remember in our minds the Holy Scriptures which tell us about Saints Peter and Paul. We are presented today with these two great men with their great weaknesses and downfalls in their life. But their love for Christ gave them the strength to rise again and follow Christ with a new zeal. A famous monk who lived in a desert in southern Egypt near the city of Thebes was Elder Sisoes, and he lived to be over 100 years old. Because he was known for his holiness, young monks and all those who wanted to live a Christian life came to ask him for advice. So once a young man who devoutly longed for a life in the desert came to him and said, "Father, I need your advice." And Elder Sisoes sat immersed in his work, as monks also work to make living, unusually weaving baskets or mats. And the old man only raised his head and said, "Speak." And the young man was a bit out of his place, confused. He didn't want to speak right then and there. And then he asked, "Here?" And the elder said, "Yes, here. Baskets and mats don't have ears." And the young man said, "Father, I have committed terrible sin. What should I do?" And the young man was also crying. And the elder replied to him, "Come to your senses, get up again and get better." And the young man replied, "I already stood up and fell again." And the elder said, "Get up again." And the young man, already angry, he said, "I have stood up and fallen again so many times in my life. How long will I have to do this?" And the elder, he said, "Until the Lord takes you from this world." And then Elder Sisoes finished this conversation by going to work. Let's take the advice that emerges from our festive thinking today. Each one of us is invited to a feast in the kingdom of heaven. Each one of us should and can become a saint. Let us not be discouraged by the thought that the holiness is too high of a goal for us. Let's overcome this barrier. Let's let every fall, every manifestation of our weaknesses, every single sin be a call for us to follow Christ anew and even with more zeal. This device for attaining holiness is simple, and if we apply it persistently within our lives, it will help us to attain holiness. Saints Peter and Paul, pray to God for us. Amen.